Happy Monday. Happy summer, almost. This is Slice of Life. His name is Billy Harner. My name is Keith Rad. This would have been opening week for us, the Brooklyn Cyclones, but as we told you on Friday, the New York Penn League has said that the start of the season is being delayed due to COVID-19, so stick around for updates regarding that. Obviously, we're very upset about that. Luckily, Long Gone Summer on ESPN helped us a little bit to quench our thirst last night, but we'll talk about that coming up at the end of the show. So while we walk you through quarantine and all those delays that are getting in the way of our baseball, let's hit it with our favorite social slice. I'm going to kick this one off first because we go out to Alaska. Some say watching golf is like watching grass grow, but what about watching ice melt? In Alaska's town of Nenana, maybe, the largest in-state guessing game takes place. What are you talking about? Okay, so in 1917, railroad engineers bet $800 when the Tanana River in Nenana, Alaska, would break up and the ice would melt. Flash forward to this contest. Brendan, pop up that picture. This tripod is connected to a clock on the river, and everybody in the state of Alaska takes a guess at when the ice is going to melt. So ice melts, tripod moves, it's attached to the clock, they stop the clock. Well, last year, $311,000 was the purse in Alaska. This year, because of COVID, it was only $125,000. But since 1917, Bill, they've given away $14 million. And by the way, each ticket is $2.50. You mail it in if you can't get to one of the stores in Alaska where you fill out your little card. And this is the kicker of the whole story. There's some guy who has won the river contest 3 times. His name, Tom Waters. It's like Bookman from Seinfeld.
Yeah, this whole story is amazing to me, and it's something that I really need to be a part of, I think. If you want to throw some shekels down on something, I'm your guy. So I'm looking forward to finding out some more about how I can get involved for next year for sure. For my social slice, Keith, I don't know what you're paying for rent, and I don't want to go into your pockets here. But before I got married, I think I was living with a couple other people, and we were paying like $1,800 a month. But let me tell you, I have got a deal for you. The global pandemic has put a halt to many travel experiences, and people are sort of stuck where they are, or maybe taking some day trips instead of going globe-trotting. But parts of Calabria in Italy, you can now buy a house for $1. In Cinquefrondi, again, whatever, never been there, never been to Italy, like pizza, that's the extent of my knowledge. I apologize to all those that are offended, but that's what I'm going to go with. They call themselves a COVID-free village. That's their first selling point in their ad here. They've launched Operation Beauty in hopes of attracting people to the town and filling up many of the abandoned homes that have sort of been plaguing the village recently, as younger people are moving out and trying to find jobs in major metropolises, I guess. But also keep in mind, you're only 15 minutes away from the beach. So that's another selling point. $1 house, 15 minutes from the beach, it's not a bad deal. Oh, by the way, fine print. All houses require a $5,000 or 5,000 euro deposit, and you have 3 years to complete renovations of the home to bring it up to modern standards. Looking at some of these pictures, it doesn't look so bad. I mean, it's worth $1 in a dream, you know? It's surrounded by bucolic countryside in the most real estate written article I've ever seen. So interesting. $1, $5,000, lay it down, do some work. If you're handy, you got yourself an Italian villa. And like the maestro said, Tuscany's filling up, so you got to go someplace.
This is like the old school gold rush where they were like bringing people out to California just so that they can kind of build up an area. This is not a bad deal. Obviously, there's fine print for everything. There's no such thing as a free lunch, even if that lunch is the delicious food of Italy. But the start of the season is delayed. Who knows what MLB is going to do? I mean, Bill, You got a wife, kids. I've got a fiance. We could splitsies. What do you think? Work on it.
We could be neighbors.
For my chicken parm hero, Washington Wizards guard John Wall has helped raise more than $360,000 and counting for rent relief in Washington, D.C.'s Ward 8, which is a section of the nation's capital that was already extremely impoverished before COVID. Obviously, people losing their jobs, that doesn't help. It's called 202 Assist, designed to help those in need to pay rent for a month or 2 months, depending on how well the charitable effort is going. John Wall set his sights at about $300,000 in 4 weeks. They hit that very quickly, and now they've doubled the goal to $600,000. He's got John Calipari on board, who his old coach was at Kentucky. Al Harrington, Ryan Zimmerman from the Washington Nationals has chipped in. John Wall's from North Carolina, but DC is his second home. He's been there for about 10 years already. So amazing to see him giving back to the community where apparently the Wizards practice facility is. That's where the Capital City Go-Go, the G League team, that's where they play. And that's where the Washington Mystics play as well. So everybody's hurting right now. And, people in the middle class are hurting. Think about low-income, poverty-stricken neighborhoods. And that's exactly what John Wall's trying to help out, trying to attack with this rent relief program.
Yeah, I love stories like this because, athletes get killed for a lot of the things they do, in game. You don't like guys because they missed a foul shot or they missed a clutch three-pointer, they struck out with a runner on second. And they don't get enough shine put on stuff like this that they're doing. So I'm glad that we're able to sort of talk about John Wall and Pete Alonso and a bunch of other guys during the course of the show who are doing great things. So for my chicken parm hero, like Alice Cooper famously said, school's out for summer, which for kids is great. And as a parent who has been doing a lot of homeschooling and sitting in on Zoom classes with my 5-year-old, I'm excited too. But it's not all good news because, especially for kids like my son who are just starting off on their educational journey, I guess, just learning how to read and some stuff like that. So it's important to sort of keep the momentum going. So libraries are closed and access to books and educational materials is sort of limited. But Kelly Pasick, a middle school librarian in Virginia, has a solution, and I'm on board for it, even though it's a little terrifying. Her school district has partnered with a Google spinoff company called Wing that has been delivering food and supplies to people in her area as part of a pilot program using drones. No person delivery, no hand-to-hand combat, just dropped off by a drone. So they were given a license to do this in the Virginia area as a test to see how it works before other large companies like Amazon and Domino's have tried to take over this type of technology as well. Kelly saw how quickly they were delivering her meals and other supplies, so she reached out to see if they would deliver library books to from her school and to her students, and they agreed. Flights start next week to deliver some summer reading programs. So interesting story and something I'm looking forward to for sure.
To be honest, as a millennial, we try to skimp and save wherever we can. We get knocked around because we eat avocado toast, apparently, all of us, every day for breakfast. It costs $36. Not the case. But we do try to, skimp and save where we can. This COVID thing has happened, and my fiance, who is she's just wonderful. She goes to me probably a month into this thing. I'm on Amazon. I want to buy this book, but I really wish there was some kind of subscription program. We could just get a book, just give it back, rent it. I went, wow, you just invented the library. Yeah. To which she goes, wow, I just invented the library. Obviously, libraries are closed. So during this whole thing, you can't grab a free book. So I love this idea. I'd like to be part of this idea because you can only refresh Twitter so much without having your eyes fall out. So to read a book would be a good thing. And I'm sure for you, school's out for summer. Good job, Dad. And I know Mom's not there, but good job to you as well, because you've also completed your son's 5. I guess that's kindergarten, first grade, whatever it may be. Congratulations to you as well.
Yeah, here's my graduation hat. There you go. We made it.
For sports, we told you nostalgia baseball. We're going to miss it for a little while in the New York Penn League and through Major League Baseball, minor league baseball. Everyone's waiting and watching. But last night, Long Gone Summer on ESPN was the 1998 story of the Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa home run chase. Got to relive it. About a 2-hour documentary. I wanted to get your take, your hot take, sizzling hot Monday take on this documentary. What you thought about it? What you expected, and what did it change your mind? Did it change your thinking? What did you think, Bill?
Yeah, it was a little bit different from what I expected. The documentaries, the Last Dance, and then the Lance Armstrong and the Bruce Lee one that followed, they were all very informational and, brought some new information and new perspective into events that you are familiar with. Last night didn't really do that. It was just sort of a long recap of every home run that they hit. So it was cool to like relive it because it's been so long, and it's now 22 years or whatever. And Sammy Sosa having 20 home runs in a month while Michael Jordan's hitting a game-winning championship shot against the Jazz. That's like in Chicago. That must have just been a sports overload for anybody who's a Chicago sports fan. And then, I didn't realize that, they were tied with 3 games left in the season or whatever. And then McGwire just decided to hit 4 home runs in the last 2 games of the year. But there was really no like new information. There wasn't a lot of in-depth conversation between the producers and McGwire and the producers and Sammy Sosa. They sort of just like footnote, oh, there's 10 minutes left. Maybe we should talk about PEDs a little bit. I was of the age where, I was 15 years old, and it was when that was, I think I was, right about 15 when this was all going on. So like I was sort of the key demo, I guess, for this stuff. And baseball was huge, and everywhere you looked was baseball, and that was great. So it sort of served its purpose in bringing baseball back into the forefront. But in the same vein, I also didn't realize that Sammy Sosa was like persona non grata with the Chicago Cubs. Like this was like the face of the team and stuff like that for a long time, and a beloved guy, and hasn't been there in a very long time. So that was very odd. And then you looked at Mark McGwire, who's in the Cardinals Hall of Fame, and they still have Big Mac Land and all that stuff out in Busch Stadium. So very different to see how their reactions and the acceptance of their fan base has been over the years. I was never one of the people that was, with a pitchfork and fired chasing after people during the steroid era. It was what it was. They tested all these people, and hundreds of them tested positive. So it's not like one guy was just doing it on his own. So I enjoyed watching home runs. I went to Shea Stadium to watch Mark McGwire take batting practice. I was in on it. So I don't really have very bad feelings about these guys and what they did. In terms of baseball, that's like my childhood. That's a lot of my stuff. I remember these guys and their home runs and their personalities being everywhere. So it was good to see, and it was good to get baseball back in my life, and good to sort of reminisce about a time where baseball was sort of king considering where it is now. And that part was great. But in terms of the documentary itself, I'll give it a C.
Yeah, it was nothing really new. And like you said, I think that the thing that I took away from it is that we've talked about steroids so much that you forget that literally they didn't exist in baseball until McGwire shows up and he's just the Hulk. And you find out, I was doing some reading on it too. His brother was a bodybuilder, so definitely helped him out with what to take and this and that. These questions of Hall of Fame or not Hall of Fame, like it happened. It's history. Write about it, read about it, know about it. Obviously, these guys looked, like a different class of human being. After they were done taking the steroids, you see their numbers drop. Obviously, it made a big difference. But like you said, there's so many people that took steroids probably going, all right, here comes my 70 homer season. That just doesn't happen. The thing that bothers me is that, Bonds and McGwire and Sosa, what would they be? Well, Sosa we kind of know, but what would they be if they didn't take steroids their whole time? If everything they say about, you got to make good contact and this and that, what they look like as, I guess you'd say, normal human beings. But yeah, it was nice to look back at nostalgia and enjoy it. You forget, like you said, that Sammy took the lead there at the end, and McGwire's like, my goodness, the documentary was very McGwire heavy as far as like 90% him, 10% Sammy Sosa's just happy to be here. Yeah, I guess nice to relive it 22 years ago.
My one takeaway that I sort of thought of when it was all said and done was, after this, Sammy Sosa hit 60 something again a couple times, and Bonds hit more than 61 several times. McGwire did it again too. So the only people that have ever hit more than 61 home runs are Sammy Sosa, Mark McGwire, and Barry Bonds. So if you're sitting there talking to the Maris family for this documentary, I feel like you got to ask the question of, what do you really think about your dad's record? And that was never addressed. I mean, that's a major thing. Like, this is like the be all end all of home run records. Like this was the royalty of records in sports, and it's been passed and passed and passed and passed and passed again, but only by guys with a little bit of a questionable background. So, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, I mean, last thing is that Maris was killed for even coming close to sniffing Babe Ruth's record. And like, how dare you? It's like, what are you guys talking about? And then I loved Steve Traxel, like, all ticked off that Sammy went over and high-fived McGwire after Traxel gives up home run number 62. I think Traxel's making it up. It takes two to tango. I think Traxel pretends to be upset that he gave up the home run, but hey, now we're talking to him in a documentary. So Steve Traxel's on our minds today on a Monday.
Yeah, and I liked the Carl Pavano cameo at the very end when he gave up, I think it was home run 70, after he had been traded for Pedro Martinez. How'd that work out for the Red Sox? I think pretty good.
A nice look back at nostalgia, nice to look at potentially opportunities in Italy and Alaska, maybe in the winter. But nice slice of life, Bill. We'll see you tomorrow for a Tuesday episode.
Sounds good, everybody. Take care.